True Faces Unmasked is a podcast of candid conversations that explore the intricate layers of our unique identities, worth, and value. I'm Lauren.
I'm Paige.
I'm Kim. Let's unmask.
Why don't you start us off? Kimmy.
Okay.
Kimmy.
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 Do you know when I was a kid, I didn't want to be called Kimmy? And do you want to know why?
Really?
No. It's because I loved Full House and I did not want to be Kimmy Gibbler.
I loved Full House.
Isn't that funny? I loved Full House.
Oh,
Yes.
that takes me back.
I love.
Kind of made my
Full
heart
House.
like,
You
you
guys.
didn't want to be Kimmy?
No, she was the annoying neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't.
Oh yeah. No. No one wanted.
I didn't
wanted.
want to be.
I
an
was
annoying
young when I
neighbor.
watched it, so I don't.
Oh.
All I remember is kind of like
So was I.
Uncle Joey and the girls, obviously.
And
Yeah.
Uncle Jesse.
Oh, Uncle Jesse,
Uncle
that's who
Jesse.
it
The
was.
heartthrob.
Yeah, Uncle Jesse. That's I didn't know
Yes.
that one.
Yes. But in Fuller House, I liked Kimmy Gibbler a whole lot more.
I haven't gotten to that
haven't
yet.
watched Fuller
Mm-mm.
House.
I know.
You people.
I
what are
know.
you
I
doing?
couldn't get
It's
myself
so
to
good.
I couldn't get myself to do it.
You
so much
It's so
skepticism
good.
about it.
I do too.
No.
No.
Nope.
It's good.
Mm-mm. Super good.
Okay.
Okay.
Super
right.
good.
Well,
Super.
when I get my Netflix back, I'll watch it.
Oh, true.
But
I
beware,
don't have
there's-
anything.
You won't
that
have
I-
Michelle. They'll talk about her, but she's not on it.
Oh, that sucks. Where's
That's
she at?
true.
I mean, they're not on it as her.
Right. What's it on?
Netflix?
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't have Netflix.
Oh, man. It might be on other things by now, but it's totally worth a
Mhm.
watch.
So again, that kind of ties into this identity we're talking about today, because like 90s baby, and that's definitely Full House is like the 90s.
Mm.
And so I'm like, that we kind of actually ties into our topic today. So hello, everyone. Now that you got our combo on Full House, any of y'all 90s babies out there, comment about Full House. We love it. But we are talking about identity today. Do you want to kind of explain what we were talking about to get us in there?
Sure. We're going to talk about, we talk about identity all the time, right?
It's kind of our thing.
But kind of from the angle of seeking identity from a fear-based place versus seeking identity from a confidence based place. And then taking that and looking at vision for the future and kind of how to start outworking that from the current place you are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I can go a little deeper into that because I kind of was explaining this to Kim and Lauren before I always say that I'm kind of like I am. I need to just say I was explaining this to Kim and Lauren
You were.
before the show that this is how I felt. I have been very much looking inward, working on myself, finding ways to just identify who I am, why am I here, and then kind of growing into that, the true core of who I'm supposed to be on this planet, because I've just went through some negative things. I mean, everyone goes through negatives and positives through their entire life, but there's usually a couple scenarios, kind of like we talked about before, like traumatic situations or just really hard situations you go through that really pivot who you are and where you're going. Not who you are at your core, but it's going to pivot how you get there. And so I saw this as like, for a while now, I've been trying to find who I am, working on finding who I am, but it's in fear. So that's why I say I was trying, because I was working through fear of, this person, and this is how I've always been meant to be, and I'm supposed to do this because this is what people have told me it's supposed to be like and society says. But so I'm in fear moving towards who I think I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And now I had finally realized that I'm starting to heal and starting to now pivot into those healthier ways to find myself at my core. And now I almost feel like I'm being reborn. I think of a dinosaur because I've been watching Jurassic Park too lately. And so I think of like the dinosaurs, and it's like I almost was like reborn, and now I'm like coming out of my shell, like poking through, like, okay, I can do that, and I can keep going, and I can keep going, and it's in confidence instead of fear. And so that's kind of what we're talking about today. And watching yourself become the person who you want to be. That was something Lauren had pinpointed on. Do you want to talk more on that? Like becoming the person you want to be.
Are we ready for that, or do we want to cover more of?
Oh yeah, if there's more we want to cover before that, because that is a big jump to the next
I know.
part.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead if there's more.
I think something that you said that's really important, kind of how you were functioning out of that fear-based place of finding your identity. And I think it happens way more often than we want to admit it does.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like someone else has an expectation, or society as a whole says, oh, a successful person looks like this, or a nurturing mother looks like this, or a good friend looks like this, or whatever, fill in the blank, right? And so then it's like, well, here's this role, and I have to be XYZ to fill that role or to get that accolade. And I
Wow.
think it's like, if I'm not this, then I can't be that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that is that those expectations. And I think that's where some of that fear-based identity can come in. You know what I mean? Like, oh, if I'm an entrepreneur, I have to wear a blazer and I need to be business professional and I need to say these words to make me sound like XYZ, whatever. You know what I mean? And I think they're expectations, but they're just blown in the wind. Like actually, there's no roots to it. There's no reality to it. And so once you can kind of step outside of that, it's just such a weird thing. It's like these expectations that are placed, whether you're placing them yourself or someone else has placed them, and then really start seeking who you are out of the confidence and knowing you need to move forward. I want to move forward, but I want to do it as my true self. I think, man, night and day. It's huge.
Yeah. Success really is a personal thing, which is so funny because I was actually thinking about that on my way here. So this is perfect. How success really is a personal thing. We have these societal expectations of what success is. If you don't have this, you don't have the big house, you don't have the fancy car, whatever, you're not successful. That is what success is. And success is so personal. Like, what are your goals? Like, what are you wanting to do? That's all I got on that. It's so personal.
No, it's good.
Sorry, I have something to say, but I'm finished writing my thought down before I forget it.
Go for it. Don't lose it.
So this is gonna probably sound pretty blunt when it comes off, but it is the truth, scientific truth that I've learned, is that a lot of so you say like these almost fear-based thoughts, like if I can't be this, then I can't be that. All these thoughts that are put into our head are honestly, ideally, brought to us by our parents, the people who raise you, the people who bring you up in the world, the TV shows they let you watch, those things, your teachers. So it's not necessarily just your parents, but those people that impact you when you're growing up. That's what gives you those expectations that are then we think as adults are just, where'd these come from? Why do I have these brought over me? And then we start, what's the word?
Replicating, emanating.
Words are hard. Words are hard, guys. But we almost start beating ourselves up because we're not what we're told was supposed to be successful, or we're not what one person we learned when we were in first grade said, hey, you got to do this and get to, you just, whatever it is, it is brought to us from when we were younger. And so I think there is this root of fear from when we're younger that we then, when we talk about going through all those steps of our lives and how we go through traumas and how we push stuff down, I think it really roots there, because if you're pushing down all these things, all these fears, and you're not bringing them to fruition, then you can't work through them to find the truth. And so you just expect that to be the expectation until you work through it. And so that's where I probably am, is I'm allowing myself to finally work through things that scared me, that I didn't want to work through, that I thought I didn't even know were really there until I started working through them. And just really, again, being present while also just continuing to work forward, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to make that pinpoint, because I do think those things come from a source, and it's just what we've learned and what we've expected to learn. And so once then you become an adult, you just have to understand there's going to be that pivot again where, okay, you're going to have to pivot, where you have to understand you make your own success. You create what you want to be. So just because that person said it when you were 10 doesn't mean that it's you, Right. So I think that's so important too. And a big thing that I've learned, that you can work through those things that you didn't even know you had trauma in, or, those things that are just rooted deep. So yeah.
For sure. Well, and I think it comes down to, you were talking about parents or teachers. There are people who are going to influence you in your life. It probably will be parents. It might be some teachers. It might be grandparents. It might be now, like, my kids are influenced by people on social media. Like, when we
Exactly.
talk about influencers
Mm-hmm.
in social media, they are truly having a say in what people think is right, normal, and an appropriate way to behave.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to talk about like a censorship side of
Mhm.
that, but I think you have to realize things are influencing people.
Yeah, exactly.
But one of the things that I think is amazing, and maybe it won't sound so amazing to other people, to me, there's always this tension point.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people say, oh, you need to be this to be this, or imply this, or whatever, right? So it's those expectations, whether spoken or unspoken. And I do it to myself. I'm like, I do it more than anybody else does. But there's always this like tension point. Like I feel like I am boxed in, and it winds up being like some mold that someone has put me in, or I have put me in, to say, if you want to do this, then you have to be this, right? And those B words are important, right? We talk about that all the time. And, but one of the most satisfying things I've found is breaking out of that mold. Like going, oh, wait, I don't have to be in a box.
Yep.
Oh, wait, I can do this my own way. Oh, wait, I can think my own thoughts. And our last episode on creativity really plays into this. And I think that's when you really start seeing people come out in the front and blaze new trails, is when they go, oh, there's a mold. I'm not going to succumb to that. I'm going to do it my own way. And then all of a sudden there's this newness, and it's refreshing for people, and it frees people, and it makes people think new thoughts. And I think that is my happy place. Like, let me bust out of that mold.
Exactly.
Wow, I love that.
It's like
picture.
kind of like gives people a permission they didn't know that they were looking for.
Lord, you took the words out of my mouth. Oh my God. Are we linked? Like, oh my
Yes,
gosh.
we are. Yes, we are.
Literally. Say that again for the crowd to hear.
Oh, shoot. It gives us permission that we didn't know we were looking for.
Yeah.
Is that what I said?
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. And I think that's why I was just like so amazed, because I felt like for the longest time when I finally realized, oh, I just need, like, I needed to give myself permission to go be who I was supposed to be. Because
Why do we need that permission?
Exactly. I was like, I knew, but it's like,
Why do
I
we
gave
need
it to
it?
myself, and then it was like,
You can give yourself permission.
at
Did
any
you know
point,
that?
at any point, it's like, and I was just, it was like for months, and I'm like, where am I supposed to go? What do I do? And those felt like, oh, I can do this if I want to. Cool.
I know.
Like, whoa.
See, but that's that tension point that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like there's this something, like when you're operating in this system, when you're operating in this mold, in this expectation that someone else has put on you, society, whatever you have, and it just doesn't feel right. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't
It's
fit,
like
and
everything
you
is
don't feel
hard.
right. There's a tension in it. Yeah, it's a constant struggle.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't going to be struggles, even when you are like being free and doing what you're supposed to do, but it's different. There's a specific tension. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about.
It's, yeah.
And I'm telling you, when you bust out of it, it is just like, what a relief.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah. And again, you can give it to yourself at any point.
Absolutely.
You can give it to yourself.
Here's the
Exactly.
permission. Here's
Yeah.
the permission you're looking for.
Yeah, to give
Just-
yourself permission
Yeah.
to just go
You have permission
live your
to
life.
give yourself permission.
And to unapologetically be that, and to continue
Yeah.
to be that every day. And then seeing, and so this is kind of where we get into then becoming that new person and becoming, and so Lauren said that earlier, and it just was incredible, because that's exactly how I felt. Again, you're saying exactly how I felt. Like, I'm now confidently, unapologetically, and I know we hear this said over and over and over again, but until it happens, then it's like, oh, this is true. It really is. And so then you find that, you continue to do it, you work towards it every day, you attract others. And it's crazy, because again, I've been going through this, and now I'm like breaking out of this shell, and it's like I'm halfway through the shell and I got people already joining me. And then I'm getting a little more out of the shell, and then I got more people joining me. And so it's just crazy how much when you really do break out of that, you feel new, you feel confident. And again, I'm closer with the Lord. I mean, it's not a coincidence. We always talk about the Lord. And it's like, and it's also just, again, giving yourself that permission. I could just keep going over and over and over again, but also forgiving yourself too. You can mess up and forgive yourself and start over within the next hour, within the next day. You know, but that also is going to be, again, breaking out of that mold again, because you can start going back into that mold. So for a lot of, I mean, Kim and Lauren know, but any of the listeners that know, my program, I'll talk about my program a lot because it's it is a lifestyle now, but I do the 75 Hard program. And so for those of you who don't know, I'll just do a little overview of it. And then if we ever need to update or if anyone has questions, they can ask about it. But it is a lifestyle program. Most people think it's 75 days. You do the 75 things, the 75 days, you do the things you're supposed to do on that list. If you do it every single day, if you don't do it one day, you start over. Everyone knows this one usually. And so I'm not going to go through all the tasks. If you want to know more, you can research it. Andy Frisella is the 75 Hard guy. Always go to his website for everything and you can know the details. But it's also, so after you get through 75 Hard, there is 3 more phases after that. And so it's supposed to be a whole year program, and it's almost like going to AA. It's like going to our Mary Kay meetings. It's having the system and the support system, and it's just it's just on steroids. I mean, it's for, people that I want to be like. It's for these business entrepreneur men and women who are making billions of dollars who are a part of this stuff. Like, it is so empowering when you're in it. But so then you go into phase 1 and that's so many months. And then you go to the next one. So when I talk about my program, it's the 75 Hard program, but it's a live hard lifestyle. So where I was going with that is that, for example, I decided to start it because like last episode, I had talked about how I was getting off the rails. And one of the tasks on 75 Hard is you don't drink for 75 days. Anytime you're on the 75 Hard program, phase 1, 2, or 3, or the 75 Hard part, you don't drink. And so, and it's not just to say, oh, alcohol is bad, don't drink. It's actually chemically, it rewires you. And so people like me who ADHD, I struggle with a bunch of different mental things, and I'm aware of it now to where I can use this stuff to my benefit. So when I drink, and when you drink, you have a 2-day hangover mentally. So when you drink, the next day, you're going to feel foggy. And then the next day after that, you're still going to feel out of it. And then on the 3rd day, you're going to feel way, way clearer. And I've only know this because I've allowed myself to get into the pattern. And then so when you think about it, there's days I would go Thursday drink, Friday drink, Saturday drink, Sunday drink. Well, now that's 2 days for 4 days. Now that's 8 days of a hangover, potentially. You think of it that way. So that's when you get into this program, you really clear your head. But I still fall into the mold. So I decided to do it a few days later, a couple days later. Well, I was with friends and there was whatever excuse it was, I was like, I'm having fun today and I don't want to do that workout and I don't want to drink. But the next day, I still did everything else I could though that day. And then the next day, guess what? I was back on the program. So I say that not because I want to brag or because I can do the program whatever I want or whatever. I say that because that's just a rule of life. You can fall off if you forgive yourself and then continue to move forward. So I've fallen off. I'm continuing to fall off. I'm not perfect, but I'm finding my system to keep that new mold that I know is reliable for me. And it may not be that program for you. It may be a different thing. It may be something else, but just finding that mold or breaking out of that old mold and then finding just those steps and systems to keep you moving forward, even if you fall back. That's a huge thing about then becoming the person you are. Because even when you fall back, because you will, everyone does, you have the system to then continue to be that person and then make up for it because you can forgive yourself and then start that system over again. Oh, I'm out of breath.
I like it. I think when you are talking about forgiving yourself, I was also thinking of the verbiage like not holding it against yourself, you know, and it's really like, it's a model of what the Lord does with us, right? He says he casts your sins as far as east is from west, right? And if we are to be like him, I think we've got to be able to forgive in that way that he does. You know what I mean? And so we've got to like not actually hold it against ourselves. And if you're anything like me, you tend to be your own worst critic.
Yep.
And I may not hold it against you, but boy, will I hold it against me.
You know?
Right.
Right.
Like, oh, I am so much better than this. Remember this failure. Remember when you failed and you did this? I bet you're going to fail again. Like, that's the self-talk that happens. But you really have to get to the point where So you slipped up. You've got to like, all right, let's actually move on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not hang on to it.
Mm-hmm. It's,
Mhm.
creating so for example, like creating wins consistently. So then even when you do slip up, you have the track record to have more wins than losses. So you know that you'll be able to pick yourself up quicker and get back on track quicker.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. I mean, honestly, a huge reason probably why I do 75 hard, because I'm just mentally and physically wired to be so like but very intense. That's the word I was looking for. So I'm wired to be very intense. I've been an athlete my entire life. My dad's been my coach since I was young. And then, I'm on a college team, so then that's even more intense. I've just always been built. I'm a business girl, like entrepreneur now. Like I'm built to be intense. I was built to be, I quote unquote, I call it a shark. Like that's what I was built to be, a bulldog, like gangster. Those words are what appeal to me. And so when I do that and I think of these things and then I look at myself, I don't always see that, And so how do I create that reality for me? Because there are girls that hold themselves to that standard, and I would definitely use those words to describe them. But, they want to, it's just, you may not look that way, but you can still have those attributes,
Mm-hmm.
And so, and not holding it against yourself. Hey, I am super tough. So I do expect myself to stay on the 75 hard program because I've done it twice. I've went on to phase 1, and the reasons I gave up were because I allowed myself to. So it's like, yeah, I need to be more intense because I did do all these things. Like I used to run, that's just the thing is like you see that and it's like I almost got so deep into that fear zone where I forgot who I was. I forgot the things that had happened before. And so, yeah, being able to forgive yourself and not hold it against yourself too, because you can always start back over once you get that good system.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So let's talk a little bit about vision.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So
I thought that was a really nice little segue right into talking about vision.
Bam!
So that was great.
Look at that.
right. I was excited to talk about vision because if
Uh-huh.
you've also listened to our past, present, future
Mhm.
episode,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a future thinker. And so vision is like,
Yep.
it's a sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
But I think when you're driven, when you really are on a path of figuring out who you are and breaking out of that mold, typically you want to know where you're going,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's usually maybe not a written down, maybe it's unspoken, maybe it's even an unconscious thing, but there's usually a goal in mind, right? Like it may be to get this promotion. It may be to be able to do 50 push-ups. You can tell where I am if I say only 50, right?
That's a lot.
That was a lot. I'm like, girl.
I was like, right, but it might be like it might be any of these things,
You're
like
gonna take a break.
right, like, but it might not be a written down something.
Yeah.
It might not be like a formal goal, but that's really what vision is like kind of setting an intention and then allowing the path to be set to get there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's kind of what we want to talk about
Yeah, for sure.
next with that.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I guess what we were talking about before was we have this vision of what we want our future to look like. And it seems so far off. We don't even know how to get there. But what's so fun and encouraging is when you hold that vision and you don't let it go and you do whatever you think you need to do on a daily basis. You're just trusting the process. If you're just trusting the process, and then you actually see a little glimmer of something that gleans like, oh, this is an attribute that I just portrayed that person that I want to be like does.
yes.
And it came in naturally.
Yes.
And it wasn't like, okay, well, she does this and it's good, so I'm going to do it. But whenever it actually happens naturally, it's like a little glimmer of hope. Like, oh, like it is actually possible.
I loved that way you explained. Lauren, we are linked today. Because I was like, you passed it to me and I was like, Lauren says one thing and I'm like, yes. We're all linked, but that was funny.
That's good.
But no, honestly though, because I see that all the time. I mean, we're like the 5 people we're around. Blah, 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 blah. How much do we hear this? But it's important. You're like the 5 people you're around. And I see it all the time because when I see myself fall off and back on and off and back on, I look back. I need to be more conscious on being more present future thinking on this, where I look back and I see, all right, I see where I fell. I'm like the 5 people I'm around. And it all starts to make sense. So then I think to myself, well, I work from home. I'm around dogs all day. So how do I create that reality day to day to keep myself strong to get me through the weekend, to then do all that, repeat the process. So then I get on my podcast. I get on the YouTubes. I start reaching up and out, or out and then up. I reach out, then up, out, then up. I'm finding who's where I want to be. Where's a video? Where's a podcast? All right, now let me listen. Let me go on my walk now. Let me actually understand and regurgitate all of what they're saying, because I want to be that. I hear what he's saying. I hear what she's saying, and I can be that, and I want to be that. So that's where you get to that point too. Is like you could be like the 5 people you're on too, but I wanted to really hit the point of how important that is, because I want to be like an Andy Frisella. Dude, I adore the crap out of him. Like his wife, I want to be like her, where they live a live hard program. He was just talking on his podcast the other day of how he just has these sports cars on sports cars on sports cars because that was his hobby. And that's what drove him to get to where he wanted to go. He wanted to have the effect of, okay, I want to enjoy every single day of my life. So if I'm driving around a beater every single day, I'm not going to really enjoy getting in my car to go somewhere if I think it's going to break down. So he started to invest, and he was like, I invested in my first sports car. It wasn't the top of the top, but he explains the process of going through that and how now it drives him. He has this, like, again, making billions of dollars out of nothing. Like he started with a supplement company and he lived in the store.
Wow.
Didn't make profit for about 10 years. And it's like, I'm in this spot. I'm like, why can I not pay my bills? I'm working freaking hard. And like, why can't I get these? Why do I got people call me? Because I'm late on all this stuff. And I'm like, but I got to be positive because I got to just keep moving forward. But then I hear them talk about that. And so I hear it. I see where they are. And so that's where we really can get those visions too, is attaching yourself to stars is what we call it too. So Pamela Shaw would be another one for Mary Kay World. Like, again, another huge star attached to a legacy. It's like, if you have those goals, you got to find them. And maybe they're not that yet, but you find where you're at and you got to attach yourself to something and then keep that in your 5.
That's interesting.
To move you forward.
I think I want to point out really quickly. I think there's a difference between looking at people like that and allowing their story to influence what you're doing versus looking at people like that and allowing their story to inspire what you're doing. Because I think when you look at it and allow people to inspire you like that, what that does is it busts that mold. It can bust that glass ceiling that might be holding you back. But sometimes I also, like we were talking about being influenced by your parents or your teachers or influencers, whatever, right? I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think that's the one that you've really got to guard. You know what I mean? Like
the ones that inspire you.
The ones that influence you.
Influence you.
So influence, I would say, kind of is indicative of informing how you act, how you outwork things. Inspiration is kind of like opening a window and saying, oh, look, there's something else out there. Do you know what I mean? And I think both can be really important, but especially when you're looking at people who you don't necessarily know, probably it's better to put them in the inspire category because they may have stuff going on behind the scenes that you don't see. And if you only let the pretty successes influence you, you might be dooming yourself to disappointment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that. It probably sounds really harsh, but I think unless you can get into the realness of somebody, you might want to hold that influence role a little tighter. You know what I mean? Hold it a little closer. And you may not have anyone that you trust to influence you at this point, and that's fine. I think absolutely find inspiration where you find inspiration, until you find someone that you trust to be able to help influence how you behave. Like, does this move you forward? Does this bring you up? Does this advance you? You know what I mean? I think those are the kinds of things you want to look for. And
does it serve you and your goals and your vision?
And who you are.
And who you are.
Yeah. 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 I don't know.
Don't forget the serving who you are. Yeah. Because you don't want to forget that.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to have somebody influence you so much that you then become them or that you become someone else. You always want that to be influencing into being you and the more whole picture of you that you can be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is what picture of you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why, I mean, anytime I would talk about this, I would say, let your source be the Lord. Go to the Father, go to Jesus, go to Holy Spirit and ask them who you are. Let that be your first influencer. You know what I mean? Why? Because they have the ultimate truth. They actually know what you were created to be. And when you allow that to be the main voice, then even when you do allow other influencers in, it's not going to take over that main voice. And it's not going to convince you that that's not the best.
Wouldn't it be fun
You
if
know?
Holy Spirit had a TikTok channel? And what would it look like?
That's funny.
That is funny.
I don't know because I'm not on TikTok.
Okay, how about YouTube Reels?
YouTube short.
YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts.
We'll
I
pivot
just
the
mean
verbiage.
like little stories, reels, whatever.
Aw.
Like, what would he
Well,
say?
The thing is
Would
there
you
are,
follow it?
There are accounts like
Would
that
you
out
be influenced
there.
by it?
Right.
Yeah.
There are
That's
accounts
fun.
like that out there, though. That's like
There are.
another like branch you could go down to, like the social media side. What does your phone look like when you hop on it? You know, are you seeing people that make you feel self-conscious, jealous? Are you seeing negative, hate, evil? Or have you created a positive space of people that inspire you, push you forward? Again, inspire. I love that you differentiated the two of the inspire, like looking at what's possible, because there it is right there. Are you looking at people that are inspiring you? Or are you looking at something that's, not so
And
great?
that is an actual like practical tip that y'all can take home
Yep.
with this. I mean, you might
It's made a
already be home.
huge
I don't know.
difference for me.
But
Yeah.
but you can actually control the algorithm.
Without, we're giving you permission.
Yeah,
Like, you don't have to
you
ask
can.
for it.
Okay, so this is something I have tried to do is whenever I'm going through my feed and there is something that doesn't serve me, I mean, I try to scroll past that thing no matter how much I want to stay. I try to just go on past. And then if I come to something that is, even if it doesn't totally like speak to me in that moment, if it's something that is along those lines, that's more inspirational, something constructive. This guy who has a channel on communication skills, whatever, I will purposefully stop and listen and like or whatever, just so I can like try to change my algorithm.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
true.
That's
And
good.
it's
That's awesome.
it's helping. Like
Yeah,
I mean, I
good.
still get other things on there that are not that are still just.
It takes a second, but that's awesome. That's
But I
exciting.
still have to have those
You're
entertaining
advancing.
things too.
That's so funny. I like that you pointed out, like, what do you see when you pick up your phone? I was thinking about, I mean, even beyond social media, I scroll sometimes, but like games will get me like tripped up. You know what I mean? And so if I was to look at my screen time and like, what are your top 5 apps? We talk about what are the 5 people who are influencing you? But what are the 5 things on your phone that are influencing you?
Yep.
You know, and
Your screensaver.
yeah, and what's taking up your attention when you're looking at it? And most likely, unless you're like way better than me, which is really possible, like you probably look at your phone quite a few times a day, right? I mean, I do. And like, what do I get drawn to? And where does my attention get invested?
Yeah.
Like, what if I looked at my time and my attention as an investment?
It is.
As opposed to just something.
I mean, time is the most depleting thing on this earth.
It's
You-
the most
and you
limited
cannot get
resource,
back.
right?
So when that's your focus and you start focusing on everything you do throughout the day, I mean, that's where I got to. I got to where I was sitting on the couch being a couch potato. I was like always eating. I was always drinking. And I was doing the bare minimum that I had to. Now I see I'm wasting so much time. And maybe it wasn't wasted, but it could be done in a more
efficient
way. Yeah. For example, I am making a garden.
You're making a what?
A garden.
A garden.
I said it so I bitch because I still can't believe I'm doing this. Because I'm the person who kills all the plants. Like that is
Girl,
who
I killed
am.
a succulent.
That's what I do.
Like,
But that's what I'm saying. Like, so I'm known as this person, but it's almost made me so mad because I love plants so much. But I never actually tried to take care of it. I would buy the succulent. I'd water it every once in a while, maybe put it in the sun. Then I was like, why did it die? You know? Even like the
and
ones-
everyone who knows how to take care of succulents was probably like, well, that's why.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
Exactly. They're like, how often
Like,
did you
that's
water
exactly
it? And I
why
was
it
like,
died.
But anyways, so it's like these things that I just start noticing now. Like the little things, when you start realizing how precious time is, you start noticing the little things of each day. And it starts to, again, you start moving confidently because, my time is precious. It's depleting. So what can I do to lay my head down at night and think I am proud of myself? I had a good day.
Mhm.
Well, starting this garden now, I mean, I do now 2 45-minute workouts. One must be outside. So when you work in a garden, that is a workout. So I'm counting it. And
It's on the workout app.
heck
gardening.
yeah.
It is.
Because I mean, I'm in like the part where I'm cleaning. So I'm in the dirty part of it too. And like the bugs are coming out at me and I'm like it's fun. But I'm also seeing like that I have to take care of it. And there was beauty there, but you have to take care of it. You have to nurture it. It's like all living things, but again, until I tried something new to get out of the mold, to get out of that rut, to get out of the plant killer label, I have to try to actually make my area and the plants live. So that's kind of where I'm at. And it's actually really calming. It's kind of nice. So
That's
that was
good.
a real life example. And anyone who wants to follow that journey, I'll probably be giving updates soon. I had a toad yesterday.
That's fun.
Yeah, I saw a butterfly and a toad. So that was another thing, that the little things, now that I'm cleaning it up, I start to see the life in it now. I start to see, okay, all the dead branches are out. Wow, that bush doesn't look so nasty now. Or, oh, I cleaned it up and there's a butterfly on it hanging out with me while I'm out here now. Or there's that little toad, like I hope he makes a home in my garden now. Just like those little things that show, okay, it's worth it. No one else may see that.
So your vision of being a plant lady.
Or
you're
being able to have a
starting-
garden, yeah.
Heavy. Yeah.
Yes.
You have that vision
Yeah.
and you're starting to see those little
Yes.
things that are showing you as a plant lady.
Yes. The stuff
You
that no one
can keep
talks
things
about, I
alive.
guess.
Yeah.
And like you do have to do the dirty work and no one posts that out. No one shows that stuff.
This is why the influencer
Yeah.
concept is, it's like it can be a double-edged sword, right?
Mhm.
Because if you're only seeing the pretty, like,
Finished product.
right, it's the beautiful flourishing garden that is producing fruit and flowers and it's lush and it's gorgeous, but you don't see the nitty-gritty that went into it. Then expectations get set that it's not actually that hard. You know what I mean? That there's not hard work, there's not grit that you put into it. But I want to talk about something that you said.
Uh-huh.
You were talking about seeing the life in it. Like you've started, like there's a toad and there's this butterfly. And I wonder, like, what if we shift from thinking about, is it worth the time invested? What if we start thinking about, is it worth our life that we're investing in this, right? So like, is the game worth the amount of life that I'm investing in it? And is there a return on that life that's been invested? Because business world, ROI is a big deal, right? Like return on investment. So you put $100 in, do you get $200 back or do you get $2 back, right? What is a good investment? And so if we're looking at it like, time, it works with time too, but I think life it can be more jarring and it can also be more life-giving. You know what I mean? But like with your garden, you're investing part of your life into this and you're seeing life coming back though.
Yeah, that was what was really cool.
And I think that's the beautiful thing. And like when I'm in I own a podcast studio, right? We do podcasts. And when I'm able to invest into putting this in here, and then I see people come in and I see them come alive, and I see their businesses start to flourish because they're doing this, and I start to see them functioning exactly how they're made to function, that's return on investment. That's life being traded for life. And I think, at least for me, like if we talk about purpose and what actually drives you, it is that trade of life. You know what I mean? And
I
I'm
just got chills.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did
Like
too.
it's a big deal.
Love
But
it.
this is also how the Lord operates. Like
Yeah.
he is life. Like he is what gives us that. And I just think if we look at it from that essence, wow, can perspectives change? You know what I mean? And so then when you're looking for you have a vision of where you want to go, and then the steps that are getting there. When you lay your head down at night, you can go, did I trade the amount of life I had today? Did I trade it to help me move forward in this? Do I have life that's been returned? You know what I mean? And I think that's a really good measuring stick. I'm just going to say.
That is a good measuring stick.
It is.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. What is your ROI for your day every day, for your life?
I know. Are you asking
The
me in real
return
life?
on
Return on
investment.
investment.
Return on investment.
Thank you.
Right. What have
No,
you
I
invested
was
out
just
today,
asking
right?
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I haven't been living that way. I was just thinking about this when you were talking
Yeah.
about finding that life coming to you
That is cool,
after
yeah.
investing this time in the garden. I'm like, wow, that's the investment. You're investing your life and you're receiving life.
So get this too. This is a fun story. When I started the garden, the first day I went out there or I guess it was like the second day, one of the two, but it was like right when I started it. And I went out there and I was sitting by myself. I'm home 4 days of the week. My boyfriend's working 4/10, so he's out of town. So I was kind of sitting out there by myself, literally in that depressed, sad moment, because we talk about drinking and it was a 2-day hangover, so that it's a depressant. So you do feel depressed in that 2-day hangover. Also note 2, to make you feel better when you drink. And then if you feel like, why do I feel so depressed today? Well, did you drink 2 days ago? Because it is chemical. It's just what it does. Anyways, that's a rant. But I'm sitting there and I'm literally thinking to myself, wow, I feel so alone right now. Like I just feel so lonely, and I felt sad. And I remember thinking that, and then I went back inside and I like got myself, rewired, pivoted, saw the dog because I was able to pivot and get out of it. It still sucked. But then the next day was when I went out and saw the butterfly and the toad. Like the Lord answered it right away. Like, you're not alone.
That's so good.
Isn't that cool? I was like, again, return on investment.
Right.
And no one saw it. It's not going to matter to anyone else as much as it mattered to me either. But
And if you would have just stayed inside and sulked and focused on your thing,
yeah.
then you wouldn't have gone outside and you wouldn't have seen it. But you decided to get up, keep going, make one more dig, and you actually got to see a little glimmer.
Exactly.
I have this vision. It's not a vision. It's a picture someone sent me the other day. And it's like an actual picture. And it had 2 people, and they were both digging tunnels. There's one person digging tunnels, and he's about right here. There we go. He's right here. And then one other person is a little bit farther. But one person is still digging. He's still digging. The other one has decided to give up and turn around and go back the other way. But the person who gave up was this close to a big tunnel of gold. Not gold, diamonds.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Doesn't matter. It could be either one. It's gold or diamonds, whichever one you want. And so the person who gave up, it was like this close. If he would have swung that axe one more time, pickaxe, whatever, he would have broken through and gotten to this tunnel of diamonds. And so that's what I saw with that is instead of just giving up, walking away, you swung that pickaxe one more time and you found a little nugget.
Yep.
That's so good. Well, and I think that's what can really, if you get to the point where it's like you get to the mundane and you're like, I've been working, I've been grinding, and there's no return. What if you start looking for the life in some moment of the day? Look around and actually look for the life and see what's being returned to you. And I was trying to get there earlier and I didn't, but then it finally came to me. I said the Lord leads by example in this, right?
Yeah.
The most well-known verse in the Christian Bible is John 3:16.
Mm-hmm.
For God so loved the earth, the world,
Mm-hmm.
that he gave his only son. He gave the life of his son so that anyone who believes will have eternal life and not perish. He gave life for life.
Yeah.
There was an investment of life and a return on investment of life. I'm just saying, like, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
And
He led by example.
And the best leaders lead by example.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So maybe just if you're feeling stuck, if you're in a rut, if you feel like you haven't made any progress, maybe take a moment and look for the life. Like, and if you're not finding it, maybe have that conversation with the Lord. God, where's the life in this?
Mm-hmm.
Please show me where the return on investment is.
Yeah.
Please show me where you're giving life through this. And if it's not there, maybe the conversation needs to be had that what do I need to pivot? And if I pivot, show me how to get to the life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think that is the path. When we talk about having a vision for your future, you know where you're going, you know what you want to accomplish. That is the path. You're following the path of return on investment of life. You're finding the life, you're giving the life. You're finding the life, you're giving the life. It is like, if you can focus on that, I think you will see doors open, you will see windows open to you. You will see new life and new ways that you may not have ever even imagined. But we are given this life. And I think there's so much abundance to be had if you just look for the life.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo.
I know.
That was good.
Jesus said, I came to give you life and life abundantly.
Girl, that scripture verse has been popping up for me so
Really?
much the last week or so.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that it was a scripture verse that I was really wanting to, and a lot of us were wanting to apply to our businesses at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was there at the beginning of the year. And just recently it started to resurface through a couple other places and now just another one. And
Multiples.
Wink,
wink.
Wink,
Right.
wink.
I'm telling you, find the life.
Find the life.
The life and the
And
life
it's like-
abundantly.
Yeah. Hey, if anything ever is reoccurring to you more than once, may that just be like a big old neon sign of God being like, hey.
I mean,
Hey.
I'm reading the story of Noah and the ark right now, and even from the beginning of time, with John 3:16, he gives life for life. Noah's ark, he gives life for life. And it's to be reborn. And he also pairs the multiples. They come in multiples, all animals, big, small, those that scurry the ground, those that fly in the sky, multiples. So again, yeah, right there, more examples. Bible's pretty cool, y'all. Start reading
Just
it all.
saying.
But I also think it's so humbling too, because I find so much again, humanity in it. It sounds sometimes I think when I have my Bible and I carry around my Bible or I read it some days, and I've even had digs said to me, and I don't know if it's meant in a mean way, but I've heard them before and I always let them roll off, but about the faith, and being open about your faith. I forgot where I was going off with that, but again, just being confident in that too, and being able to trust all of these, real examples of all these things in your life and how to move forward, giving life for life. Just because someone thinks it's cliche or makes you seem, high and above, that's the stereotype I was thinking.
That's
Catholics always think they're better than everyone. Yada, yada, yada. You haven't heard that?
no.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one. Catholics put themselves on a pedestal. They think they're better than everyone because, they're closest to the Lord. Same with Jews. That's another one for Jews, too. Oh, they think they're so high and mighty because they're close with the Lord.
Huh.
Yeah. And so when you have those expectations and you have people who do maybe say things every once in a while, it's sometimes hard to stick with that And so, again, just encouragement that there's truth in that Bible. It's so much more humanized and I guess normal than I feel like it's made out to be.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my world, but that's a real thing I think is out there and that I've experienced myself. So
No, I think it's good. And honestly, you know what? When we talk about the Lord, well, I'll say I mean me, but I think you guys are with me on this. This is a journey.
Oh,
and
yeah.
this is a messy journey.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm going to tell you, it's not all roses and butterflies. Like, it
Mhm.
isn't always the tidiest thing,
Mhm.
but it's a really valuable
Mhm.
journey. And I've just gotten to the point where I'm willing to share it, even if
Yeah.
I say it today and tomorrow the Lord's like, Kim, that was wrong. It's actually this. Fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Then you
It's
just
fine.
correct,
It's
correct and
fine.
move
You know
on.
what? I will speak on what I know today.
Exactly.
And just know that it's also with a heart that's willing to be corrected. So
Mhm. That's
I
a
don't know.
really great perspective too. Like willing to want to, have that correction done too.
Right.
Because there are some people that stay stuck. And I mean, I've had people say, "Oh, what you need to go get your prayers in. You need to go to church. You can't hang out with us. You got to go do that stuff." And it's just like, oh, actually, yeah, like I am now, because it's almost like it pisses me off. Like, how are you going to throw my faith in my face when I know that's the only thing that has kept me moving forward? So I do, just to put that out there as well, like, give life for life. That was taking life. Like, it's like those things take it away from me. So again, being aware, is it giving life for life or is it taking my life? Because the only things that give is what's going to move me forward, and giving and receiving too.
I would agree. And also, I think, just like with my journey, I was saying, like, what I say today, I may be corrected tomorrow. I think sometimes, like, if you're looking for life, if you're going down that path and you're like looking for the life today, where's the life today? Right? I think what gives life today may not be the same thing that gives life 6 months from now. So I would say don't make that the religion. Don't make that because going and being on the treadmill for 15 minutes today really brings me life. Don't make that the doctrine that then you have to be on the treadmill for 15
You have to
minutes.
run the treadmill to be happy. Yeah.
Right, because it may
yeah.
not be that. You know what? Maybe you have a cold, and what gives life is to rest. And that is okay. Like, you have to know that if it's giving life and you're checking this with the Lord, it doesn't have to fit into the mold. Like, we're talking about breaking the mold, but sometimes resting is the most life-giving. Sometimes running is the most life-giving, but it's like checking it, right? Don't do it just because you do it. Check it. Right? Is there a return on investment in this?
Yeah, because I think even sometimes resting could be breaking a mold for me.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, yeah, so maybe not just for me.
Oh my gosh. No, for sure.
Okay, because I was like, that's breaking a mold for me, but
No,
yeah.
because there's so much out there that to be successful, you have to be grinding, you have to
Yeah.
be going, you have to be digging all the time. Don't ever stop.
Yeah.
Right.
And you do have
And
to
that's
stop.
and you do have to stop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which also doesn't mean stopping to party. That's still exerting the energy. And so I think that's also where there's been confusion in my life.
Sure.
Oh, I've stopped my work so I can go stay up all night and I can go hang out with my friends. But it's one of those things where that's still taking the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also going down that not so good pathway usually. Sometimes
Sure.
it's not. But again, what's the return?
Sure.
The life for life.
Well, and know what the resting is for you.
Yeah,
Because I will
yeah.
say, I'm an introvert, and so resting for me is getting away from people,
Yeah.
unless it's like my core inside, like my children, my husband, like my close family. That is still
That's-
resting. But I also know some extroverts
Mhm.
that to rest, they need to get around people.
Mhm.
Like, that's what energizes. And so I think it's very individualized.
That's a good perspective. Because I never think that way. I get so we're all, everyone, you have to really work to look outward because we just naturally always are self-focused, which is
Sure.
natural. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I think it really is that. And it might be like, I like doing puzzles. It might be like turning off and like doing a puzzle. And that feels restful for me. Other people, that would be so draining and like such a drag.
That sounds awful to me.
See?
I've
I
tried.
did not want to do a puzzle.
I've tried.
I know. But that it's a place for me where I'm like occupied and can then, it's like I can think about other things. I can focus on the Lord. I can still my racing mind or my do kind of stuff.
And just be.
And I can just be. But there's enough action going on that I don't get distracted as easily. Do you know what I mean? It's like when I used to do a really mundane, like it was kind of like data entry job. But it was just repetitive. It's different numbers or different figures, whatever you're putting in, but it's just going on and on. I would listen to audiobooks, and some people can't do that, but I would listen to audiobooks because it would occupy that part of my brain that then wanted to wander.
Exactly.
And like
that's how I work
get
too.
off focus. And so if I had that secondary thing, like doing the puzzle, like I'm occupying a certain part of my brain, but then I can actually be functioning well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But are you actually
that's for me.
able to like
Focus on
listen,
both?
focus on
Oh, yeah.
both?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
my
I
goodness,
can
no.
too.
Oh yeah. For real. Yep.
That's how I'm wired to work because I'm so
My husband is the same way.
I'm so like ADHD to where I can actually focus, and it depends on the things, but I can actually focus on something while having something. That's why I listen to podcasts all the time. That's why I listen to that stuff, because it occupies that other part of my brain that wanders, and instead it
gives
pivots
direction.
Yes,
Yeah.
it pivots it to a
allowing
positive.
you be able to, so having this centered on something, allowing you to listen and focus on whatever else is going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like,
No.
it's because, yeah.
I know,
don't
but
understand
some
it.
people are not wired
Yeah,
that way.
no, that my husband's like that too.
Yeah.
Like he's getting like wandering mind during service, whatever. He'll turn on and play a game on his phone. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, but he's actually being
He's
able
tuning
to,
in.
he's actually able to like listen better, that he has this occupying his
That's why I
his
take
attention.
notes so
I
much.
find that so interesting because I would not be able to do that. I'm focus is one or the other.
Yeah.
Can't do both.
That's interesting. Oh, I think it comes through in different levels. My husband cannot listen to something and be doing something and be focused on both. But if he's in a meeting, if you're having a conversation, he will be doodling, which looks like he's not paying attention, but it's the best way for him to pay attention.
Doodling is one thing.
But it's
Doodling is one
but
thing.
it's
Yeah.
occupying another part of your brain and another part of your,
Sure.
you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
busying that thing that wants to wander. Right?
Yeah, I would say doodling would be way better than me actually like playing a game or listening to something else. Like there's no listening to do different
That's
things.
so funny. Yeah, I am though. But I'm a multitasker.
Yeah.
I can literally be reading an email and having a conversation. Like it's okay.
That's impressive.
Like it really is. But it's just because my brain works that way. But not
Yeah.
everybody's does. But some people's do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a huge
it's also
rant.
that was a
finding-
huge off
It's
topic.
also like finding
rant.
your way, though, again, in your identity and your way to understand how your brain works, and then tapping into what your strengths for it and utilizing it.
Sure.
I am the only one that I ever see at my church taking notes. There may be others that I don't see, but I mean, does that stop me? No. I have to take the notes to be able to focus because my brain, and it's been that way the entire time I've grown up. I will sit there and I'll start thinking about everything I have to do and how I didn't get this done, how I got to do this, and then, oh, but this is right here. Oh, and then, I'm going to start daydreaming about when I was in, college, and now I missed the entire surface. So if I'm writing, I actually have something, even if I don't look at it again, it's at least going to, again,
focuses on
digest
the-
better.
Okay. So I guess the
So-
note to take away from this would be learn you.
Yeah, because everyone's
Learn
brain's
you.
going to work different.
Don't like whoever you're being influenced by, however they say, oh, in order for me to focus, I do this. That may not be you.
And just
Right.
take the tips and you have to try it. Yeah. And
Try it,
Again,
but
you
yeah,
got to
if it-
try to see, like you got to try the new things again to get out of the mold
Right.
again, popping out of your shell.
But
Yeah,
if it doesn't
yeah.
work for you, it's not like, oh, then I just can't be like her.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
Like,
That's not indicative of failure. That's
Yeah.
indicative of you being a unique human being, which is ideal.
yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
See, that was a good little rant then.
Yeah, I was like, that was really good because it's just understanding who you are. Because every time you're like, why do I do this? Why is this so weird? Lean into it. Why do I do this? How can I turn this from a weird to a strength? Serve me instead of be something I think is negative. So again, yeah, just finding that, okay, my brain works like this. My brain works like this. Okay, well, yours is completely different than mine. She does this, so maybe I should try this.
Yeah.
You know? It's just kind of things I've taken in as well. And it is so powerful when you start to do those things. I mean, my little brother, for example, he's always had the ADHD hyperfocus, but he's always, since we were little, walked around with headphones in. Always. And it's always drove our family crazy. Guess what I do now? Walk around with headphones in half the time. Half the time I have an AirPod in, because when my mind starts to wander, I got to be able to have the function to turn on something that's going to whip me out of it right away, a podcast, a song, or something to get me back on track.
Yeah.
But to some other people, wearing headphones around makes me look like a typical technology crazed millennial.
Like I'm tuning you out as opposed to I'm
and
tuning
instead,
in.
I'm really trying to calm myself down so I can have a normal interaction with you. Sometimes I do not feel normal going out of my house because there's so much going on in my brain that I have to slow it down to be able to actually confidently talk to someone without having anxiety.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it just rubs me the wrong way when, the phones and all that stuff. It's like, actually, I'm finding ways to help it benefit me so I can give life.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it that way, what is the weird quirks you have? Actually, how are those benefiting you?
Yeah.
How is that actually giving life to someone else?
It's good. It's good. Good chat today, ladies.
Yes.
Good chat.
Thanks for being on with us, guys. Of course, like, subscribe, comment, share. We love you all.
Yep. See you.
That's it for today. Thanks for listening. Keep up with us on this unmasking journey by joining us every Friday.
Like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram. This episode is sponsored by Podcast Solutions and podcasttables.shop.
As always, we're glad you're here. See you next week.
Boom, done.